Hey everybody, so today I'm going to show you a pretty simple, inexpensive way to make your own soil blocker. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Good Day Farm. We're out in the workshop today, and what I want to do is, this is going to be like the second video in my gardening series video. So what we're doing is I'm going to make a soil blocker, do it yourself, just from simple materials that you may already have laying around your garage or shop or something, or even if you have to go buy them, relatively inexpensive. I did not price out. I bought some stuff to make this. I didn't price out what I would need to buy it. If I had to guess, altogether, $5 or $6. Now it's a do-it-yourself one. I'm using PVC pipe, so it's just going to make one soil block at a time, unlike the ones you can buy that'll pump out 4 of the roughly 1.5 inch size square blocks. I'm not sure exactly what they are, 2 inch, something like that. I'm using 2 inch PVC or 1.5 inch PVC, excuse me. So it'll give you not like a micro block, but the one size up size, which for us I think will be perfect. We can do seedlings in there, and then by the time they're sprouted and going good, we should be ready to just transplant them right to the ground or their final pot or whatever it is we're doing with them. So anyhow, let's just get right to it. This is just going to show you the stuff and the steps that I did to make this. It's real simple. So okay, I'm going to just take a quick minute here to explain everything that you're going to need, and then we'll start putting it together. So need a roughly 4-inch piece. You wouldn't want to go much more than 4.5, definitely not less than 4. Keep it as close to 4 inches as you can, of just standard PVC pipe. This, like I said, is 1.5 inches, and I went with that size because for the plug that I'm going to put inside to push out the soil block, works with the hole saw that I have. If you want to go bigger or smaller, you just got to do the math and make sure your hole saw, will cut the right size plug, which is going to what pushes the dirt out. So you need that. So I got here 1.5 inches, 4 inches long, 6-inch all thread bolt. I went with a carriage bolt simply because that's all my hardware store had. I could not find a 6-inch all thread, and you do need it to be all thread. So they had 6-inch bolts, but they were just threaded on the end. So I needed all thread. This is a 5/16. Don't really need to be much bigger than that, and I wouldn't go too much smaller. This will make it nice and sturdy and work good. Then get your, you're gonna want 3 washers for that bolt, 5/16 washers, and then 3 nuts, 5/16 obviously, to go with that. And then just a couple of 3 or 4, it just depends how you want to do it, but just little, these are like 3/8 panhead Phillips screws. Again, I wouldn't go much longer. You don't need 1/2 inch, because then these are gonna actually go in the side here to secure the first block to actually be like the top of the plunger. Much longer, you might split the block. Much shorter, as you plunge down, you might push it out. So I think 3/8, should do you fine. And they're what's Packy say? Number 6 diameter. So that should work fine. And what we'll do when we get to that point, we'll pre-drill through the PVC into the wood, and then we'll thread those in, and that'll hold that in place. So, and then the other thing, scrap of, I'm using pine, whatever you have for wood. I wouldn't use plywood, particle board, press board. I would use something solid wood, but just a scrap board. You're going to be drilling out, a couple of, with the hole saw, drilling out a couple of plugs out of this to make for your plungers. So you want that, good solid wood, kind of find something that's got some clear grain, so you're not, I'm not going to drill through the knot, obviously. I'm going to go in this clear grain area. It's just a piece of scrap wood I had laying around. That'll work. And then my hole saw. If you got to buy one of these, I think these are about $10 probably to buy. It just depends on the size. A lot of people, have these already. You may or may not. If this is something you're going to make a couple of these, to make like a family project out of this, where let's say you and your partner and kids or whatever are going to all get involved, this would be a worthwhile purchase, so you can make several of these. If you're just making one, it may offset, you know, it may not be worth it to buy this just to make one, but you might use it for other projects, whatever. So anyhow, first thing I'm going to do, I've already cut my PVC to length, it's 4 inches. So I'm going to draw out my plugs. I'm going to do a couple extra just in case one does crack or split, but you know, I'm just going to drill these out. Best way to do that, I'm going to do it over my table so I don't drill, because this, the way a hole saw works, it starts with a pilot drill bit and then it hogs out this. If I go straight down, I'm going to go into my workbench. Mine's a wood bench. It would be fine. It would just make a hole, but you know, you may have a different type of top, and you don't want to damage that. So I'm going to hold this out over that. So I'm going to just chuck this up in my drill and drill these out real quick. I'm going to do a couple extra, like I said. One, just in case I split some, and two, I am making more than one of these after this video for us to use around, for me and Cindy both. So I'm going to do more than one. Let me tilt the camera a little bit so you can see the process. Like I said, I'm just going to pick a good clear grain area and just start drilling into it. And you might have heard that in the video, but you'll definitely feel it. You'll be able to tell when that's about to punch through. So kind of take it easy, let up on it so you don't go through too hard. And then to knock these out, you can just unscrew your hole saw. These thread onto the bit if you're not familiar with using these. Just unscrew it off of there, and then you can either use a screwdriver or something to, you know, push it out like that. And that's one plug. We'll take a little bit of sandpaper before we use this to clean up the edges, and then this is going to fit right into whoops, off camera, sorry. This is going to fit right into our PVC. Squeeze that right in there. That's the top plunger, or sorry, that's the top to the plunger. That one will stay fixed. This is the one we're going to pre-drill, set those screws in there, and that one doesn't move in and out. The other plug is the one that will be attached to the bolt and will give you your plunging action to go in and out. You want to cut, I don't think I mentioned it when I started this, you want to cut 3 of these, and for your soil blocker. And be real careful when you're drilling through here. Try and keep your drill and everything as straight as possible, as perpendicular. If you kind of get off at an angle, it's going to cause your plug to be at an angle and it won't fit into the PVC pipe. So you want to keep this all as straight as possible. Take your time, you know, this isn't a race. You can run it slow and just, you know, make sure you got a good start. Okay, so unfortunately, my hole saw, the centering bit that I was talking about earlier that starts the pilot hole, is not 5/16. I guess I should have checked that before we started. So I'm gonna have to take a 5/16 drill bit and just enlarge these holes. In these plugs so that the bolt will fit in like that. All right, so I'm gonna leave this down where you can see the bench. Nobody wants to look at me anyhow, right? So we've got this one set in here. Like I said, that's the topper to our plunger, to our block maker. And then I just sanded the edges down in the one that's going to go inside. It's going to be a really snug fit, and that's okay. If you find it's too tight and it's not plunging like you want it to, just sand it down a little bit more. But over time, this is going to, you know, it's going to wear and work its way in. So you need to get the your top one that's going to be like the handle to your plunger. Now, because I use the carriage bolt, we're going to have to tap that down, you know, to get into that, you know what I mean, where the carriage bolt's going to leave it raised up like that. We don't want that. So you can do that 2 ways. You can try and hammer it on, or you can put your washer and a nut, thread your nut down, and then just tighten that nut up to suck it down, you know, till it tightens that wood up nice and tight. If it's raised up a little bit, that's fine. Main thing here is you don't want to lose too much distance, if you will, because we're, you know, the soil blocker is 4 inches and this bolt's only 6, and we're adding 3/4 of an inch to the top here, so we just shorten it by 3/4, and then we're going to add 3/4 to the bottom, which is the part that pushes out. So you know, you start losing a 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch there, and it's not going to produce a very big soil block for you. All right, so I just tightened that up. As you can see now, it's flush to the top, nuts tight on the bottom. We've got this in. This is pretty tight, pretty flush. I'm gonna try and get it a little more, I think. I'm just tapping on the edges. If I tap in the center, I might push it all the way through, and I don't want to do that. So now I want to chuck up a small drill bit. It's a number 6 screw that we're using, so we obviously want to drill a little bit smaller than that. I want to say it's probably, I didn't look when I pulled it out of the package or out of the set there. It's probably like a 3/32 or something pretty small. You can freehand hold this, put it in your vise if you have one. Not critical. Just go slow and easy, and try and have it go as straight in as possible. You want to go deep enough to where you're going through the PVC into your wood, and then, you know, enough to where the screw is going to go on. The whole point of this is so we don't split it. I'm just going to use 3, so I'm just going to kind of go in a standard piece symbol, if you will. And that should be sufficient. I mean, this isn't going to have a tremendous amount of pressure on it. It's going to have some, but not, you know, not massive. Unchuck that. Get back in our Phillips screw tip. Now here's where you could use a screwdriver or you can use your drill, as long as you're just cautious with it. You're not, you know, trying to drive this thing to the moon. I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit. Like I said, take it easy. You know, we're not trying to drive it to the moon. Put all 3 of those in, and that'll set the cap, or whatever you want to call it, for the top of the soil blocker. And then our next step is going to be to put the plunger in and put the bottom on that. So now that should look something like that. You should have your 3 screws all the way around, holes in the middle that I had to bore out to 5/16. Hopefully you don't have to do that. You'll either use a smaller bolt, or your hole saw may have a bigger drill bit. Like I said, I should have checked that before I started. I just started this, and I'm not going to go buy more material to change that. So that's when that's in. See how that nut's going to hold that up like that? And that'll work. It'll give you something to pull back and forth on. Make sense? Okay. So like I was saying, you got your plunger made. We've got this, the topper mounted. So this is going to go into it like that. And then, sorry, you want to make sure this part that's going to plunge in and out, you sanded it down enough to where it'll, like I said, it's going to be snug, but not so tight that it can't pull in and out. I think I've got mine pretty much where I want it. You know, it's possible you'll put it together and you may have to sand it a little bit more. It's not a big deal. So we're going to put this in. Thread the bolt on. Try and do this quickly for you guys. Want to get that bolt inside the PVC. Put the washer on, and you can kind of sight down if you look down it this way and make sure it's inside. No more than 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 is about right, you know, a little more than a 1/16. The reason for that is I'm pushed all the way tight against that washer right now with my plunger. And my plunger is sticking out, but yet a little bit of it's still inside the PVC. And that way, when I eject the dirt block out, the plunger doesn't come. Because if I put that bolt up here and the plunger was, you know, suspended here, then every time I try and pull it back, it's going to be fighting trying to get in. This way it never leaves the PVC. Push everything down good and tight, and it's in there. So I like that. Put a washer on there, put a nut over the end of that. This is going to be dual purpose for us. So what this will do, obviously, is hold the plunger in place, but it also becomes a point to make the little divot in our dirt block that we drop our seed in. And then, you know, and that way, you know, it's kind of multi-purpose. Works fine. And then now if I have to twist it for any reason, that's gonna hold it tight. Only nut that'll come loose now, or should, would be the very end cap nut. And that, you know, you can adjust no problem from the outside. All right, let's put some dirt in and see how it works. All right, everybody, so I got a little bit of potting mix in here. This is not a actual recipe for doing the soil blocks, because I just wanted to do something real quick here to show you guys. So, you're gonna open it all the way up, and you're just gonna pack the dirt in there. Push it in however you want to do it. Get it full, obviously. Get the end leveled off. And then you're gonna press it down to compress it pretty firm. Water squeezed out, that's fine. And then now we can just push the block out. And there you have it. It's got the little dimple in the top. We can drop our seed in there. And we've got a compressed soil block for, so you can see on the camera there, the dimple. Yeah, you got your little soil block for starting your seed starts. Like I said, that'll be the next video. We'll actually start pressing some of these out. I'm gonna make 2 of these so me and my partner can make them together. And stay tuned for that video. Thanks a lot, you guys. And remember, it's always a good day on the farm. Get dirty. Yeah.